But continuing to move on, we're going to move on to the top half of the West here. Let me just adjust here. Boom. We have the Western Conference here. We got the Denver Nuggets at 41-18. Really playing well. Made a small move for Thomas Bryant at the time, the trade deadline. I thought that was a good move for them, getting a backup big there. Really trying to put some things together. Nikola Jokic having an MVP season, looking to win his third straight MVP season, and they have been the most consistent in the West so far, leading that charge there. Getting rid of Bones Highland, I thought that was a understandable move, as he's just in terms of what they needed for their team. I think that was a good move for them to get off of him and try to get these other guys some playing time and some minutes there. Really trying to put it together. Jamal Murray's having a good resurgence, playing really well down the stretch. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon was considered all-stars consideration there. So to see that in the Denver Nuggets at the 1 seed is not surprising. The way they've been playing, the way Joker has been kind of orchestrating that offense and everything. I'm just interested to see how their defense picks up and see if they can get that going. Because I think if they can get that going over the second half of the season here, that can really put them in potential to be in the Western Conference Finals and potentially the finals. Of course, some other teams made some trades there, and we can see where that's going to go. But I think Denver is in control of their own fate. And I think people have kind of written Denver off, of course, with the Kevin Durant move and Kyrie Irving move and stuff like that in the West. And people are still looking at the Clippers and stuff like that. But I don't count out Denver. I think they're still going to be in position to do some damage in the Western Conference, and especially with Joker and that team there. I think they're better suited. I think they added some more depth to their bench. It's going to be interesting to see how they play out there. Moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies. They have been in disarray since Steven Adams has been out there, 4-7 without him. Have dropped a lot of games to Phoenix, Minnesota, LA. A lot of guys that they're going to see in the playoffs that has been kind of hurting them a little bit there, and kind of have everybody side-eyeing them. And I think that's a big thing that people are missing, is that they're missing Steven Adams. He adds a lot to their team, especially on the defensive end, especially on the glass. He's one of the best rebounders in the NBA. And that's something that they're desperately missing. But I'm also going to be looking at Ja Morant to step up and really turn things around. And you're thinking they're the second seed in the conference, but they got to get back to being how they were before the Shannon Sharp incident, because it's been downhill since that game. And they really got to turn it around there, especially when they got to the situation with Dylan Brooks and Shannon Sharp there. I'm going to be looking to see Ja Morant turn things around and lead things with Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. until Steven Adams out. I think he's out maybe 2-3 more weeks, and that's tough to handle in the Western Conference, especially not having a big man on the glass like that. But I'm looking I'm looking at Ja Morant to turn that around, really turn that around and get things back on track for that team. Moving on to Sacramento, who has been the most overlooked team in the Western Conference, led by De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. Keegan Murray's there having a good season. Harrison Barnes has really stepped up over the past couple of weeks, past couple months, providing a lot of scoring for them. And it's just, you look at this team, especially with Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, ability to step up late in games, and that's always been something of a sore spot for him. It's actually making good plays and making winning basketball plays. So that's awesome to see for them. And Mike Brown, he cannot get enough credit, in my opinion, should be in consideration for Coach of the Year. What he's done in Sacramento to even give them a little bit of hope. Sabonis is there. De'Aaron Fox is there. Of course, they're playing big impact on that end. But Mike Brown's ability to coach this team and really turn things around for that organization should be in consideration, in my opinion. Moving on to the LA Clippers. Adding Bones Highland and Eric Gordon at the trade deadline. And also Mason Plumlee. I thought they needed to address their point guard situation. I think they're going to run Terrence Mann out there, give Paul George those ball handling duties. Eric Gordon has a little bit of playmaking ability. So I think that's what they're going to fill in. They think they just double down on more scoring, getting an actual big man to back up Zubaks. I thought that was a good move for them. But yeah, I think this team needed a point guard. I think that was something that they were missing, and I don't know if they looked for it or they couldn't find it or couldn't find a deal that met their need there. But that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out because it's like I feel like that's the one thing that they desperately needed. Moving on from John Wall and Reggie Jackson, um, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out for them, and especially the health of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is the most important thing, of course. But those guys got to step up. They got to play for the second half and really try to help this Clippers team that has been holding the fort down without those guys majority of the season. If those guys are able to play, it changes the trajectory of the Clippers. It changes the trajectory of their franchise. So we're going to see with how much they play together this second half of the season and how this team improves and see if those acquisitions can really open up things for them. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns, who obviously made a big splash trading for Kevin Durant, moving Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson for Kevin Durant, uh, and also trading Jay Crowder. Um, the Suns have pushed all their chips in the middle of the table here with an aging Durant, aging Chris Paul, with a young star in Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. I'm really pushing all the chips in the middle of the table, and I'm not mad at it. They got a chance to win. A new owner came in and tried to take over. Well, he didn't just try. He basically made that trade happen and try to make a big splash and say, hey, let's go after it now. We're spending all this money on these guys. Let's go after it. And you make a trade for Kevin Durant, one of the top 15 players of all time in NBA history. You're going for it. You're not going to waste any time and trying to nitpick around and pussyfoot around in the Western Conference. The Western Conference, even though it does look like it's open, it's up for it's up for grabs. And looking at Denver as the only powerhouse there, Phoenix had to make a move there to up their ante, and they've been playing well since they had their guys back. But they needed to make a splash and needed to make a move, especially after last year, the past 2 years with the finals. Then how things ended with Dallas last year, of course. Um, they had to make a move. They had to do something. They had to try to push all the chips in the middle of the table and take the next step to be in title contention, being in that conversation, going up to toe with guys in the West and potentially in the East. You had a guy like Kevin Durant, a 30-point scorer, former MVP of the league, one of the best scorers all time in NBA history, to Devin Booker, who's an all-star, and DeAndre Ayton, who's been playing really well of late. And you have a point guard in Chris Paul, and Chris Paul is going to be able to orchestrate that offense, really lead them by example, get everybody sorted out. Kevin Durant's going to fit in like a glove, I believe. It's just a question of their bench and how that's going to stack up. But I think the X factor is DeAndre Ayton. How does he fit in all this? Devin Booker's going to obviously get his shot attempts back. Chris Paul's going to be manning that offense. Kevin Durant's going to come in and score. How is DeAndre Ayton going to fit in the middle of that? That is the question for me. How is he going to fit in the middle of that? Is he going to go back to the way he was beforehand? Or is he going to step up on defense, continue to be a monster on the boards like he has been, and getting double doubles? I think that's the key for him to be engaged, stay engaged, and his career and really add to the Phoenix Suns title hopes. I think that's going to be the most important thing. I think that's the most important thing for the Phoenix Suns is DeAndre Ayton, more so than their bench or anything else. He has to play like a big man and like the number one pick he was drafted to be. And he's been doing that of late, but will it continue once Kevin Durant steps on the floor? We'll see. Moving on to Dallas, another team pushing all their chips in the middle of the table, trading for Kyrie Irving. We know the stories of Kyrie Irving, all the backstories of Kyrie Irving, all the baggage that comes with Kyrie Irving. But he's a guy that puts the ball in the hoop, and that's what Dallas desperately needed. They traded defense a little bit there with Dorian Finney-Smith there and Spencer Dinwiddie, who was a nice ball handler for them. For obviously Kyrie Irving, one of the best players in the league in terms of scoring and being a top star in the league. The question is availability. He's going to be looking for another contract. Is Dallas going to give it to him? Could he potentially go to the LA? Is always the rumor here. We're going to see what happens here. But Luka needed somebody next to him that can play, that can help him out in the Jalen Brunson spot that they desperately needed. And you get a guy like Kyrie Irving who can get 25 to 30 points a game. That's going to solve a lot of problems there on the offensive end. The problem is on the defensive end. I think this team gave up their defensive stopper, Dorian Finney-Smith. How are they going to overcompensate that? Maxi Kleber is coming off an ACL injury, I believe. So they have some questions there on the defensive end that I'm interested to see how it plays out, um, and seeing how they've been struggling the past couple games with Kyrie Irving. They got to get him integrated into the system. Jason Kidd's going to try to man the fort with that and try to figure out how they can tinker and help Luka out, and especially help Dallas out. But we're going to see how this plays out. I don't think this was this year move. I think this was a multi-year move. They're going to be looking to re-sign Kyrie, I believe, and we'll see what they do there. It's going to be interesting, especially the two rivals there with Phoenix and Dallas in 5 and 6. You think about that; they both made big splash trades. They're going to be competing for each other, and seeding is going to be crazy this year. The matchups are going to be crazy this year in the West, and we'll see how that pans out.